Is an illustration on how to achieve this overburst corset with asymmetric hemline. So to start, here is my pattern and I'm going to cut this in a miniature size. So here is my shoulder to bust, under bust, waistline, and then for my blouse length use either 6 to 7 inches after your waistline because of the asymmetric design there. Now come down and mark your shoulder divided by 2, mark 1 inch after that point. Now go ahead to mark a basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches. Note, this is not the actual measurement I'm marking on the pattern paper. I'm making this in a miniature size. Now I'll go ahead to outline and then connect from the neckline to the shoulder slant. The next step is to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. And I'll go ahead to make or draw a line at that point. Whatever you have, draw a line at that point. Now go ahead to mark your shoulder divided by 2, and I'm going to connect this all the way going to the upper part of my pattern. Now after I'm done connecting at that point, I'll go ahead to divide this into 2 equal parts, come out by ½ inch. Go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll connect this all the way up and also connect at the lower part of my pattern towards that my bust circumference divided by 4. Next, I will start by marking my dart intake, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2, which will give me 3.5. I marked this all the way to the lower part of my pattern. Now, after marking this, go ahead to divide your shoulder into 2 equal parts and go ahead to place your ruler and connect to that point at the upper part of your shoulder. I'll go ahead to mark a dart intake of 1 inch on both sides. So if you're a plus size, please go ahead to use 1.5 inches on both sides of your pattern. Now go ahead to place your ruler, connect, and also connect at the other side of your pattern. Now I'll connect from the bust all the way to the under bust and to the other side of your pattern. Now after connecting this, I'll be using a shoulder dart of 1 inch and I'll go ahead to connect it all the way to the bust point. So after I'm done connecting, I'm just going to go ahead to outline the rest of my pattern. Next step is to insert my measurement and I will go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Pick the dart intake I have here, replace and then add ½ inch for your sewing allowance. Here I'll mark the under bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add ½ inch for my sewing allowance. Here I'll mark the waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. Here also, I'll go ahead to mark the hip circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. After I'm done marking this, I'll just go ahead to connect all the way from the upper part to the lower part of my pattern. So the next step I'll take is to go ahead to mark my bust dart. To get your bust dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist in front and your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17, while my shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5. So if you minus 15.5 from 17, that's how you get your bust dart. Now I'll go ahead to trace out all these measurements and I will mark it on the other side. Now after I'm done marking, if you notice I added an additional paper by the side. Now if you look at the side of the dress, we have like a little flip. So I'll start connecting from the armhole, blend out my dart, and I'll take this all the way up to where I want, blend my dart at the other side and connect to the armhole. Now after marking this, go ahead to use your marker to outline to make it more visible. Now let's head over to the lower part of this dress. Come down from your waistline by 3 inches or 3.5 or anywhere that is okay for you. Now I'll extend this. This extension you're adding by the side can be 1 inch to 2 inches, right? Then from that point, I'll use my free hand to draw out the asymmetric hemline we have here. So after blending my dart, I'll go up and from my waist, you can come up by 3 to 4 inches at the center to create your curve. Then blend this side and also measure the same here. If you're using 3 inches or 3.5, do the same and add an extension to the side also and connect. So this is what I have at this part of my pattern and I will outline. After outlining, what I'll do is just to go ahead to cut out this pattern. So if you have any question regarding this pattern drafting, please kindly go ahead to ask. And I went ahead to label side front, middle front, and side front. So I'll just go ahead to cut this out. And after cutting this out, we'll go ahead to cut out the back pattern. So while cutting out your pattern, please go ahead to blend out the area that has the bust dart before going ahead to cut out, so that it can blend up to the bust part. So after cutting out, this is what I have. Now moving over to the back, I've gone ahead to mark a basic neckline of 3 by 1. I found my chest line the same way we did for the front pattern, and I marked my shoulder to bust, waist and blouse length. So after your waistline, also measure 6 to 7 inches because of the asymmetric design. Now for this pattern, I'll be using a dartless pattern for the back. All I'll do is to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, add ½ inch for my sewing allowance, mark my waist circumference divided by 4, add ½ inch for my sewing allowance, then mark my hip circumference divided by 4, add my sewing allowance of ½ inch. So I'm also going to add that extension much later at the side of the hip, and I'll just go ahead to connect. After connecting, I'll go in with my marker and I will outline. Now let's go ahead to on the center. Here I'll come down by ½ inch to avoid my lacing popping up at the back. Now come in by 1.5 to 2 inches for your lacing. This totally depends on the opening you want on the back of your blouse. I'll just make a dot to indicate we have a lacing bar here. Now I'll outline. After I'm done marking at this point, the next step I'm going to take is to come out a bit by 1.5, and please measure 3 inches to 3.5 inches by the side before connecting. So this is my back pattern, and what I will do is just to go ahead to cut it out. If you have any question, please kindly go ahead to leave it at the comment section. So this is what I have after I was done cutting.